Hello, everyone, and hi from Zurich and Toronto. For those who don't know me nor Lisa, I'm Bianca, and I used to work in IT in my former life, kind of, before I transitioned to the health and wellness industry. And before I lost 22 pounds and counting. I attended a seminar. I'm a seminar junkie by choice, and I attended last year a seminar from Coach Tim Adams and implemented the way to eating he did in one meal per day. And things started to happen. I did not see it first, but I realized a bikini photo I will share with you later. That was really changed. And to give you some more impressions, maybe you've seen it, maybe you're totally new. This was me. And this was me.
Oh my gosh.
And this was me.
Oh.
So the reason why I'm talking Cinderella Experiment has two backstories. One thing was I wanted to make this year the year of fairy tales. I saw this quote and yeah, I liked it. And the other thing is, it's not a diet. It's not a diet. It's kind of a lifestyle change and breaking through your mindset and your limiting beliefs, and wondrous things happen. I mean, I got a photo shoot just recently for free, and the pictures look like, people ask me like, is that you really? And my friend asked, that are the unretouched photos? So no further ado, for Lisa, nutrition was always important and interesting, but it became of high importance when something in your life happened, and you have to tell them yourself. So Lisa.
Hi everyone. Today I'm playing your fairy godmother, and I'm going to leave you with some tips with how you can get started on a similar journey that Bianca's been on. Completely, I mean, I don't think Bianca did it on purpose, but she did it by accident. But a little bit about me and why I'm here with you today. I met Bianca at one of the seminars that we've been attending, and actually we've attended a few together. And even though I'm in Toronto, we keep in touch frequently. So one of the things that happened to me as a teenager, in my late teens, I met a guy who had Crohn's disease. And we were eating in a restaurant called Swiss Chalet here, which is basically roasted chicken and French fries. And he wouldn't eat the skin on the French fries or the skin on the chicken. And my sister and I were there with him, and he was like, and we were like, what? You're not eating the best part. And he actually told us at that point that it was because he was concerned about his health. And he had actually I wouldn't say cured his Crohn's disease, because I don't know whether you actually get better, but he improved his symptoms and he was no longer in pain by what he was eating. At that point, I became super interested in nutrition. And I started just reading about it and watching what I ate until I was married and I had my first daughter. And suddenly I found myself in the world of the hospital. She was born with severe health issues and spent 16 months in hospital. And when she came home finally, she was alive, but she could hardly function. She was only awake 6 hours a day, and close to 2. 2-year-olds are awake a lot longer than that. And I thought, okay, what would I do if I could feed her by mouth? What would I feed her? She had a feeding tube and she had a tracheostomy, so she was breathing through her neck. And I thought, okay, let me just add some real food and vegetables and real meat and some healthy fats into her blend, because she was on a commercial formula. And literally overnight she changed, like from being awake 6 hours a day one day on just what I call the crappy formula. She was awake 12 hours a day with food. It was a huge change. And I thought,
And you did only change the food?
I only changed the food.
Whoa.
So it was literally overnight. And so that started getting me trying different things. And I started to realize the impact that food really does have on us with energy and vibrancy and everything. She's just a completely different kid. So that's basically how I got into it. And then when I had the opportunity to leave my management position with the federal government, I went and studied nutrition and became a holistic nutritionist. So that is, now I help other people, and that is, I believe, the reason why I do what I do. Yeah. And I love every moment of it. I love working with people and seeing the transformation and the results that they get as well.
And you change lives, right? I
changed lives. I saw my daughter change. She's now almost 16. She'll be 16 in June, and she's doing well. She doesn't get sick. She's happy. I mean, she has a genetic disorder, so she has some other issues.
Yeah.
But, you know, she's a happy little girl who goes to school, has friends, lives a full and vibrant life. You know, she makes people laugh and makes them happy. You know, it's just, so I've noticed and seen that. So I really do love how nutrition can impact us in a really positive way.
Yes, and it's an easy thing to do. It's not rocket science if you know a few things which we will share with you today.
Yes, absolutely. So it isn't rocket science at all. And there are easy things that you can do to switch things up. Like Bianca said in her introduction. It doesn't mean you have to stop eating some of the things that you really enjoy eating.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you might add a few things into your diet and make sure that you're you're getting all the nutrients that we really benefit from.
Yeah. Just let me say hi to everyone who's attending. I see Laura. Ciao to Italy. Who else is there? Give us a shout out from where you're joining. And if you have questions, please post them too. Lisa is here for question and answers afterwards too. So if you have burning questions, note them down or post it already and let us know. So, hey everyone, just checking here. Who else is there? Oops. Sorry. Hey Esther, are you still there? And who else? Kusi, are you on? Cool. Hello. So we have a very international group, it seems. Nice. I love that. So, yeah. Continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let me share with you 3 easy tips to help get started on becoming more vibrant and helping you feel even a little bit better than what you are, and as taking some steps towards the Cinderella experiment that Bianca has been talking about and sharing with all of us over the last few months.
Yeah, let us show us the magic.
Show us magic. Okay, so the first one has got to do with the fountain of youth. And a fountain is spraying water up. It's filled with water. So the first thing my first tip is to drinking water. Water is crucial to help our cells stay full and round and plump. Water nourishes us. It keeps us from getting dehydrated, especially when it's hot or we're exercising. It really, really is important. And I'll tell you a story that happened, I think it was about a year ago. My dad ended up in hospital because when he would stand up, he would almost faint. And he wasn't feeling very well.
Okay.
He literally could not get out of bed. And so the doctors were running all sorts of tests, trying to figure out what it was. We thought maybe he had a stroke. Anyway, what they figured out was he was dehydrated.
Happens a lot with elder people. My grandma fell down the stairs because she drank this little glasses and thought that's enough. Yeah,
I don't think we realize the importance of water in our life. You know, it says that we can live without food for quite a few days, but we cannot live without water.
Yeah.
You know, it's super important. So it helps keep sometimes when we feel like we have headaches, we are actually dehydrated, and sometimes when we feel hungry, it's actually that we are thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
So water also helps flush toxins out of our body. So what happens is we get bombarded by lots and lots of toxins from the environment, from foods that we eat, from exhaust fumes, just some of the things that, like the furniture or our beds, our clothing, they have toxins in them, and they get into our body through our skin and through our digestion. And what happens is we have these detox organs such as our liver and our skin, our lungs. If we're a woman, we have our uterus, our colon, our bladder. These are all detox organs. And if we don't have enough water to flush out the toxins, because these toxins start to circulate round and round and round in our body, and they start to get deposited in our organs, and so that's ends up starting some sort of symptoms or chronic infections or whatever. Often because of these toxins. So drinking water helps flush the toxins out. It helps reduce headaches. It keeps us, sometimes, as I said, we feel hungry when we're actually thirsty, and so we tend to eat, and so often we will eat more than what we need to, and we gain weight. So often drinking water helps us feel full. It provides that fluid that we need, and we actually eat a bit less than we need to. It also helps lubricate our joints and our muscles.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, when we're moving, especially as we're getting older, we want to make sure that we have enough water in there to lubricate our body and make sure that we're able to move properly. And so how much water should we be drinking is often a question I get asked. And what I usually will say is that you really want to watch how much you're peeing.
Yes.
And if you're peeing enough, your pee should be like a very faint yellow color, unless you're taking a vitamin B, and then it will be a fluorescent just because of the vitamin B2 in it. But otherwise, it should be a light pink or light yellow color. And you should be eliminating the urine at least every 2 or 3 hours. And some people I talk to say, well, you know, the more I drink, the more I have to go to the bathroom. I said, well, yeah, that's important because it gets those toxins out of our body. It keeps them flowing, and we don't end up holding on to them.
And I actually learned something from a student who used to be a nurse. She said many women, especially when they're older, are afraid to drink that much because they have to go to the bathroom. But with not going to the bathroom, there is some sensor in the urine tract, and if your urine gets more dense, and then the sensor picks up more often. So actually, if you don't drink, you have to go more to the toilet, and it's like a downward spiral. So drinking more helps to avoid this effect that many women especially are afraid of. And we have a first question from Laura. Do you suggest any special water, and does chlorine hurt you? They say water filters take away too much from the water. What do you think? What's your take on it, Lisa?
That's a really good question. Okay, so water is, I guess it depends. Laura, I don't know where you live, so you'll really have to see what the quality of the tap water is that you have there. I know a lot of places will use chlorine or fluoride, and they can have a negative impact on our body and keep us from absorbing the right nutrients that we need.
Yes.
So often I will say use filtered water. There's different types of filters. There are some filters that will take out the chlorine and the fluoride. You just have to check with the manufacturer. Reverse osmosis will take out a fair bit, probably not all of it, but it also takes a lot of the good minerals out of water too. And So what I often recommend is remineralizing the water. You can usually, in a health food store, can get these remineralization drops, and just putting a few drops in either your water container or in a glass each day that you're drinking water will help remineralize you.
Do you have how do you find that in a store? You say remineralized drops, or what is the?
They're called remineralization drops because I hear a lot of people will filter their water, and so I can't give you a name just because it's going to be different in every place. But they are called remineralization drops.
Never saw that, but it makes sense. I realized the water in the US is very chlorine dense in a way. I cannot drink that. Yeah.
Yeah. So bottled water I don't recommend, only because, or at least a lot of bottled water, because there's often toxins in the plastic in the bottle, and they can sometimes act as xenoestrogens and affect our system as well.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So yeah, it's some spring water, filtered water, reverse osmosis, and then remineralization drops. If possible, I would avoid water that contains chlorine and fluoride, especially because it really does affect our body system.
Fair enough. Esther here in Switzerland says, lucky us, we drink water from the tap or from the fountains. Yes, the quality here is so good. I love the water from here in Zurich. They take it from the Lake Zurich, and it tastes very good. Where I come from in Germany, it's very, what do you say? Is it chalk? This white stuff.
Oh, really? It has some chalk in it, or calcium carbonate?
Yeah, it has a not nice taste there, but here it's super nice. I like it a lot, and Switzerland, and especially if you're in the mountains or so, it's very nice. Just lost my pen because I'm noting like crazy. I hope you guys do too. Let me see. There was another question here from Laura. She says, Esther, does your water contain chlorine? I think not that much. I am not sure.
Bottled water, Laura, you asked, what about bottled water if it's in a glass bottle? Yeah, yes. Again, you want to look at the source of the water. I hear all sorts of researchers commenting about bottled water, and sometimes the company that's bottling it is just using tap water and labeling it as something that it's not. So I just check your source and sure it is what it says it is, and if it's in a glass bottle, absolutely. Spring water, if water, it's Bianca saying from Lake Zurich or mountain spring water, I really don't think you can get better than that.
Yeah. So Esther says no chlorine.
Okay. So one way to measure how much water is by take your body weight and divide it in half, and that's roughly how many ounces of water is recommended to drink on a daily basis. So does that mean that you can only drink water? Because sometimes people will say that's a lot. For me, I'm only drinking like a bottle of water right now. So you can what I usually say is start slow and just increase on a regular basis. Like try this week, I'm going to go up by another bottle of water or another 8 ounces. In 2 weeks, I will try and increase another 8 ounces.
Like step by step, of course.
Your body's gotten used to the feeling of being dehydrated.
Yeah.
You have to gradually reintroduce it to your body and make it understand what it feels like to be hydrated.
Right. And what about this thing with 1 year they say caffeine is dehydrating you and 1 year they don't? What is the current state of things?
Let me just talk. I'm not going to say that you should never drink coffee or caffeinated tea.
But do you have to refill that in water, kind of?
So
Does it count or not?
I wouldn't count it in the intake because it's considered dehydrating. So when I say when you want water / fluid, you want herbal teas, water, broths, like soup broths, fruit juices, vegetable juices. Those sort of things are going to help hydrate.
Okay.
Coffee and tea and caffeinated tea will not necessarily do it. My father, who was basically completely dehydrated, was drinking coffee.
Okay, but not enough water.
Not enough water. So his belief was that he was getting his water through coffee, and he was severely dehydrated. So
many people do, I think. I know some people that drink a lot of coffee, but I rarely ever see them drinking water or something. Yeah, clear.
Yeah, and if you have a hard time drinking water, adding a little bit of sea salt to it, like a few drops, can help.
Never did that. I do lemon and stuff, or ginger.
Lemon water. You could throw in some cucumber slices or mint. But to help replenish the water in your body, a few drops of sea salt really does help your body absorb it.
Makes sense. We have another question, or what is it? Some waters contain nitrate and nitrate because they're allowed by law. Do they interact negatively on the body?
Nitrites and nitrates. Wow, I've never seen that, but I
think it's from the farming industry, coming from the fertilizers.
Likely, probably.
If I'm correct.
So, I mean, nitrates and nitrites are additives and not necessarily what we want for our body. I know here we see a lot of it in preserved meats. I would not particularly want to drink something that's containing nitrites and nitrates.
Yeah.
And that's where I would say possibly filter that water to help prevent it from...
Or don't buy if it's a bottled water.
Bottled water, I personally don't say that it's not something that should be in there. So I would filter it.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. You are going to get some nitrates and nitrites only because of the way meat is processed these days, and it's hard to avoid a lot of these. When you have the opportunity to avoid some of these additives and preservatives and toxins, then I would do so.
Okay. Something else to water?
So you want to know what step 2 is?
Yeah, shoot.
Okay. So, green vegetables. Eat the greens. Yes, they are pollutants, or not the green vegetables, the nitrates and the nitrites. Eating green vegetables. I often talk with clients and they were like, what? You want me to do what? Leafy green vegetables. These are some of the most low-calorie, high densely nutrient foods that we have available to us. And they contain some minerals and vitamins that our body really needs. So what I often recommend is choose one. Even if you don't like green vegetables, just choose one and try different ones and try cooking it in different ways. Yeah. There are hundreds and thousands of recipes online of different ways to prepare various different vegetables. I mean, Bianca posts pictures of all her vegetables and what she's eating.
Yeah, I tried new stuff since I was at this seminar with Tim, and I discovered pak choi for me and other stuff. And I mean, I ate a lot of vegetables in variety, kind of, but I still discovered new stuff and even had some algae and weird stuff, but they're good ones. So don't be strict, don't do dogmatic stuff. I mean, it should be fun and enjoyable. And I'm a foodie. I would not give up good food, for sure.
Sometimes I've made green vegetables for people who don't normally like them. And, I will chop up pieces of bacon and fry them up really tiny and throw in some like Swiss chard or or kale, and some. I'll slice up some garlic and add some sea salt and saute it in some olive oil or coconut oil. And people are surprised at how good it actually tastes.
Oh yeah, I love the style how they do the what is the round stuff again in your?
Oh, Brussels sprouts?
Yes, how they do Brussels sprouts in the US. I never had that like that. I like them, but many people here don't because it's like boring. But with all this bacon and stuff and roasted, oh my gosh, I love that.
I know. I did not, when we were down in California, I think it was last June or last September, were we there together? I never ate Brussels sprouts until then. And then I just suddenly have loved them.
Yeah.
I mean, my mother, when I was young, would cook them and she would boil them, and they were awful.
Yes, and boring, really boring. And people don't like the particular taste of it.
No.
In a way.
And now I cook Brussels sprouts every week here. Like I will roast them in olive oil and garlic with some balsamic vinegar, and then you sprinkle on some like blue cheese or Parmesan, and you let it melt, and they just melt in your mouth. They're delicious.
And speaking of Canada, I mean, I just learned from my friend Dawn in Minneapolis, I think she puts on maple syrup or honey.
Yeah, that would work too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about killing yourself over a diet. It's really eat more conscious and find stuff that is healthy for you and good for you. What might work for me might not work for Lisa or for Laura. So it's really do it yourself and do it on your own and experiment. You're your own laboratory in a way.
That's right. And filling up on those leafy greens, or like broccoli is included, and the bok choy and Swiss chard, and
I heard the cruciferous ones are super, super healthy for you because of I think it's anti-inflammatory, I think, and against cancer and other stuff. So if you put in some cruciferous stuff like broccoli, asparagus, kale, Brussels sprouts, what else is it? Can you explain? Because we don't know the term cruciferous. I heard that first time at Tim's event, and I was like, what is that, please?
Cruciferous vegetables are like the broccolis, the cauliflowers. They're not necessarily leafy greens like lettuce or kale. Actually, kale could be. I'm trying to think if kale is actually a cruciferous or not. I'd have to look that up.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But spinach is. I don't believe spinach is either. But there are so many nutrients in the leafy greens and the cruciferous vegetables that, especially for women, that help with our hormonal health, and just help. Oh, Pablo.
Me too, Pablo.
They just really, really nourish our body, and with cruciferous vegetables, you do want to cook them first. Like the leafy greens, you don't always need to cook them in advance, or you can eat them raw. With cruciferous vegetables, you want to at least steam them, just because there's some anti-nutrients in there called goitrogens that can affect how we absorb some of our minerals. Okay.
So also asparagus, because sometimes you get asparagus raw and stuff like that.
Asparagus. Again, I'm not sure. I don't know whether that's a cruciferous vegetable either.
Oh, I thought it is.
Is it? I'd have to pull up a list.
Huh, that is interesting. So I have to look up my homework for cruciferous, I guess.
Look up and see what cruciferous actually includes. But definitely Brussels sprouts and broccoli and cauliflower are cruciferous.
Yeah.
And you do want to either steam them or roast them before you actually eat them.
Yeah, but not deep frying them, kind of.
It can be a quick steam. It can be a 2-minute steam. Yeah. And just throw out the water that you use to steam them. Don't digest that water.
Something else in the secrets to non-vegetable eaters. What does somebody do? I have some friends that had a hard time getting used to vegetable at all because they had a kind of childhood trauma with vegetables. So what do you do?
When somebody doesn't like vegetables, that happens a lot with kids, you know, and I work with
them. Right.
Find a way to hide them, actually. Like, even if you were to make a meatloaf or a hamburger patty, you can chop it up really, really, really fine, and you mix it with the meat. Often I'll put some squash in there too. Squash, like grated carrot, or finely chopped pieces of kale, along with maybe some onion, and I'll mix it into a ball and a hamburger patty, and then cook that. Often you can't tell. And even with my dad, who doesn't like to eat vegetables and drink water, he really, I fooled him with it too. So kids, I did it with my kids. I've suggested to other parents who are having a hard time getting their kids to eat vegetables, hide them, make it taste good. And also, just because you tried it once when you're younger doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be more tasty now. Just like I didn't eat Brussels sprouts until last June or September, and then now I love them.
So there's hope.
So how you cook them really seems to have an impact on whether we are going to enjoy them or not.
Yeah, and Laura just says, I love broccoli. I make pasta with broccoli. Yeah, and broccoli is one of the bit tricky ones because you can easily overcook it. Do you have an idea or a tip how to not overcook broccoli?
Are you asking me or Laura?
You. Or Laura, who knows it?
What I do is I actually don't boil it. I will saute it with some garlic and some oil. Actually, when we're eating our vegetables, we actually digest them better with some oil.
True, because of the nutrients that are fat soluble, right?
Fat soluble, and so just sauteing them in some olive oil or butter or ghee or coconut oil really helps us absorb them, and it actually probably makes them taste better too.
Of course, everything with butter and with garlic or olive oil or is getting better. I saw a friend of mine showed me one day pictures bacon, the gaffer tape of vegetables. So each vegetable is getting so much better if you have bacon around it. And he was correct in that. It's really, bacon enhances everything.
Yeah, don't hesitate to eat your vegetables with some bacon. If that's what helps.
Have fun with it. Be creative. And bacon and butter helps. If you can digest butter. There are people who cannot really digest dairy so well and butter, but for that you have, oils. Speaking of oils.
Well, let's move on to tip number 3, because we're going to talk about oils.
But do you have something else for vegetables?
The only thing I would say is just be cognizant that when you're eating those vegetables, you're really, really nourishing your body. Vitamins A, C, E, vitamin K, your minerals, your magnesium, your calcium. If you can't digest dairy, you get so much calcium in leafy green vegetables that you probably don't. Your body's going to take that calcium and fly with it, even if you're not eating that dairy. So calcium, magnesium, manganese, potassium. Those are hard nutrients to get sometimes through food, but through vegetables we can really thrive on those and do well. We do want to nourish our bodies.
Oh yes. And if you have a load of vegetables, you're also very full and saturated in a way. And what Tim did in our training camp there, he let the hotel make salad of vegetables. So kind of fine chopped zucchini, what else? Asparagus, a lot of dense, nutrient-dense vegetable, raw if you can digest. And we were really saturated by that. So you can be very experimental with that.
Yeah, when your body is full, then you're going to be less likely to eat some of the other
crap
that you are enjoying right now, or you may have cravings for, and your cravings are actually going to go down.
Yeah, and that's what I experienced. My cravings are only for Swiss chocolate, but that is kind of a serious thing. That is not bad.
No, we'll talk about
dark Swiss chocolate is kind of real. Even when it has sugar, it's for contentment.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so even if you're not changing anything else you're eating, if you can add, like, just make a decision that you're going to add one green vegetable.
Yeah.
And lettuce that's really light green doesn't really count. It has you really want it to be as dark green as possible. Like, look for the dark green romaine lettuce leaves. Iceberg lettuce is kind of, I call almost a white vegetable, not really a green vegetable.
No, it has nothing in it, or
it's a lot of water.
Yeah, it's a water source if you want that to eat a little iceberg, but yeah.
Use iceberg lettuce to make a lettuce wrap. Throw in some dark green
good stuff,
greens, and some meat and some onions and garlic, and roll it up and dip it in some sauce. So that's really good.
Yes. But now to the fats, right?
I'm going to get on to number 3, tip number 3, and that is that you want to eat carbs, protein, and fat. I
love all of them.
And all of them, yes, all of them. So the leafy greens are carbohydrates, and I'm surprised that sometimes people don't actually recognize that they are carbohydrates.
Right.
So I was doing a presentation at a nursing home to some of the staff that worked there, and I said, just name off some carbohydrates for me, and they said pasta, bread, cake, candy. Oh, maybe some fruit. And I said, well, you're really missing one big category. What's that? And they were like really puzzled. And said, vegetables. Vegetables are like the most important carbohydrates that you can eat. And so that speaks to point number 2. If you ate no other carbohydrate besides vegetables, you would do just fine, and you would live and you would flourish and thrive. So we've talked a little bit about that. So let me talk about protein and fat. So protein, I really recommend eating a high quality wild caught fish or pastured meat, or lamb, beef, chicken. It doesn't, whatever you like. The wild caught and the pastured meat and fish actually are have more nutrients, and actually taste better just because of how they're raised.
Yeah.
With some sometimes it's the composition of fat to the meat. Like when they're pastured, they actually are more lean cut, and actually the fish are too. When fish are farmed, and I don't know what farm legislation is around farmed fish in Europe. But here in North America, they can actually, what they do is they actually add like color to salmon, the meal of salmon, so it gives them the pink color, because what they're nourishing or feeding the fish here in the farms, it isn't nutritious enough for the fish to have that nice pink color.
Sure. Yeah.
So sometimes you're eating more than just fish. And the meat, sometimes there's antibiotics in the meat if they're not pastured. If you have an allergy or sensitivity to grain and they're grain fed, sometimes
and it comes there, yeah,
to it as well. But really, so if it's pastured or wild, then you're pretty much guaranteed that it's going to be of a certain quality. And even if you're eating not that much meat or fish, and you're really focusing on the quality of it, then you're probably going to do better. And we don't need a lot of protein. We just need, it's about, if we're not super active, we're just, we need only about 0.75 or 0.8 grams per pound of weight.
Per pound.
It's really not a lot.
No. I mean, if I remember sizes, and it's a little more extreme in the US. I don't know how it is in Canada, but I'm always astonished when I see the plate sizes. That's one thing. Like a steak is kind of killing you, but also, I mean, the drinks. If you see a coffee. Everyone, when I have a call with US friends and I have my little espresso cup, they're like, "What are you holding there? A puppet cup, or what is that?" And I'm like, "That's my espresso."
Yeah, it's supersize this, supersize that over here.
That's right. Oh, Laura has a question. What do you do if you are vegetarian?
There are good quality proteins, such as hemp, such as chia, such as quinoa. There is protein in vegetables too, but it's not the same amount as you'll get in meat sources, meat or fish.
Yeah.
Eggs, I know some vegetarians will eat eggs, some won't. So eggs are good, like a complete source of protein.
But there again, you have to watch where they're coming from, right?
That's right. Again, if it's a pastured chicken, the egg yolks are going to be super bright or super orangey. You can tell by the color of the yolk how good a source of protein it is.
Okay.
So if you are a vegetarian, a lot of people eat legumes or beans. You have to keep in mind when you're eating all this that you're probably taking in a lot more carbohydrates than you would if you were eating meat and fish. So you really want to balance your carbohydrates, and make sure that you are getting enough protein from it, and
sources, yes.
Overloading on the carbohydrates, especially if you have issues with sugar metabolism, such as metabolic syndrome or diabetes. You want to watch how much carbohydrates you're taking. Any carbohydrate reverts into a sugar.
Yes.
So down into its lowest molecule is glucose, and glucose is sugar. And as I said, we don't need a lot of sugar in our bodies to function. We only need like 100 grams a day. 105 is not very much. So be careful if you're vegetarian what you're eating. The other thing, if you're a vegetarian, is not every source of protein is complete. What I mean by that is protein.
Oh yeah, it's more difficult and complex to eat vegetarian right, as far as I know.
So protein breaks down into amino acids, and there are 22 amino acids that our body uses. Some our body will produce when it's given the nutrients, but there are 9 essential amino acids that our body can only get from food. And so you want to make sure that you're getting various different types of protein in order to give your body all the essential amino acids that it needs. So you'll hear people talk about if you're eating beans and you want to eat them with like brown rice, and then you're making sure that you're getting all those essential amino acids. When you ever hear somebody talk about essential, it means our body needs it, and it has to get it from food, because our body cannot produce it.
Yes.
So meat and fish and eggs and dairy are complete sources of protein. We get all amino acids, or all the essential amino acids in those products. So if you're a vegetarian, you just really need to watch how you're eating and making sure you're getting those 9 essential amino acids.
Right.
One way to do it sometimes is through a protein powder. But again, I would recommend a high quality protein powder. There's a lot of
crap, right? I'm kind of a bit cautious if it comes in a package or in a box or in something. I tried in this almost a year now. Yeah, it's April. Yeah, it's a year now, almost. I tried to eat unpackaged real food, as real as I can get, at least in one meal a day. And it changed everything for me. And you can cook fast. It's not like you have to spend 2 hours in a kitchen. I know in Italian you do that, and I love that, but I'm lazy. And so, no, I didn't. 10 minutes or 15 was my max because I'm on the road so much.
Cool. Yeah, no, I don't spend a lot of time between work and my girls. I don't have a lot of time to cook either, but I will.
Right.
I will make stuff as easily as I can and good quality food, like with lots of vegetables. That you can.
Oh, Laura has another question. Yeah, you're very sporty with all the rock climbing or mountaineering you're doing. Veggie proteins are not as much as meat and fish, especially when I do sports. Yes, I realized that too. I have been vegetarian after a France trip 3-4 years until I met my boyfriend. Then meat was on again. So yeah, I do better with meat. Me personally, I did not become vegetarian nor vegan because I think it's really hard to do that right.
Yeah, I'm personally not vegetarian. I've eaten lots of vegetarian meals, but I also make sure I have meat in order to get those.
Yes.
So, Laura, it's going to be a personal choice, but again, you're going to have to ensure that if you are vegetarian, that you get all those essential amino acids.
So switching up more often. I can be more boring because I eat the meat and the fish and the eggs.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with vegetarian, I would really go all through all the colors or all the legumes, the beans, the quinoas, the whatever. My mother used to do when I was vegetarian. She cooked separate meals for me. That was really cool. And she did a quinoa burger with vegetables and quinoa. I think it was. No, another thing. I don't know the English word for it, but similar to quinoa, and it was almost as a meat patty. It was really good. So there are good ideas, but you have to be more creative, as I remember it.
Mm-hmm. So one thing, another essential nutrient that's not an amino acid is omega-3 fatty acids, and I'm going to talk a bit about these when I talk about fats. Chia is actually really one of the few vegetable sources of omega-3. So it has, the best source of omega-3 is actually fish, because then it has the DHA and the EPA, and we don't have to convert it in our body. So the problem with vegetarian sources of omega-3 is we get the omega-3 and our body has to convert it to EPA and DHA so our body can use it. And sometimes that conversion doesn't work well. And so, okay, Laura, you said, I'll go back to fish. Good.
If you get, I mean, you're close to the sea, so you should get good fish. What I try to avoid is frozen fish because it loses a lot of taste. My issue with sushi, for example, is I had my first sushi ever on the Tsukiji, the fish market or close to the fish market in Tokyo. So all the sushi inland doesn't taste because it was frozen. So with fish, check the sources very well and try the not frozen sources because the taste is really different. But for an Italian, I have no doubt you find tasty food because it's so good there.
Yeah, well, it's omega-3 is super important, and fish is the best source of that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about fat.
Yes, I love fat.
Fat is, and I hear this so often, well, fat is going to make me fat, or
no, it helps you get separated.
And it doesn't. Fat is so important for us, for our cell membranes, to nourish our brain,
for skin.
Our skin. It just, people think we're actually going to gain weight by eating fat. We actually don't. It's the opposite of fat.
I have 3 sources in my meals sometimes, or 4.
It fills us up. Fat has more calories per gram than protein or carbohydrates, and so it takes us a lot longer to digest it, and it just keeps us full. We eat less food when we eat fat. So when we were talking about bacon and coconut oil and butter or ghee, these things are healthy and important for our diet.
I mean, bacon, you should get a good source.
Good source of bacon,
But yes.
I'm always talking about good sources. So some of the other things, other fats, grass-fed butter, again for the same reasons, is grass-fed animals have more nutrients. They're eating grass. Excuse me. The fat in grass-fed animals and wild-caught fish is different than if they're just sitting around being fed grains and other crap. Fish oil. Fish oil is something you never want to cook, but if you need a supplement, if you're not eating fish, then taking a supplement of fish oil is good. Extra virgin olive oil, avocados, nuts and seeds, full-fat dairy, and dark chocolate.
I take the dark chocolate.
No, I'm not saying go overboard and eat the whole thing, but yeah.
No, I only have one piece, like not American piece, like European piece of chocolate after lunch normally, to not get a spike of blood sugar, but really to keep it in the metabolism round for that lunch.
So those are important for our diet. And actually, I have a book that talks about coconut oil and how people have lost weight by including coconut oil in their diet. There are things called fat bombs over here. I don't know whether they're over there. So people who, ketogenic diet is huge now, and it's really based on eating vegetable carbohydrates, good quality protein, and fat. And so they've created these fat bombs where it's mostly just coconut oil or MCT oil, with some lemon or something, and you just eat it. It just increases the amount of fat that you're eating on a daily basis.
I like it in my food.
But yeah, when you're cooking eggs, use coconut oil, use butter. Have some good quality bacon in the morning. Eat an avocado.
Right.
Yeah, your body will love you for it. I've read and heard people talk about our diets can be somewhere between 50 and 70% fat.
And eat the fat first is something I learned from Tim too.
Eating fat and protein in the morning is actually going to keep you full.
Yes, and avoid these cravings and kind of hustle. Yeah.
That morning fruit is your insulin's going to go up, and then you're going to have.
Oh yeah, I'm so hungry. If I do that, or like cornflakes or so, it lasts like an hour, and I'm dying. So English breakfast or something like that holds forever for me. I can then go until 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah. So fat, eat it and enjoy it. Include it in your whatever you're eating on a daily basis.
And mix it up. I mean, sometimes I have the avocado, the coconut, the olive oil, and Udo's oil. That is omega-3 source. So yes.
Yeah. So you do want different types of oils. So there is the monosaturated, such as olive oil. And then there's the saturated oils. And that's any meat or oil from or fat from animals, and you need that. Like there are nutrients in these different types of fat that our body uses. We don't need lots of necessarily saturated fat or just saturated fat. We do want to mix it up. Then we have the polyunsaturated fats, which are the vegetable oils. The fish oil is a polyunsaturated fat. So anything that's like you hear about canola oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil. What is the one I used when I borage oil? What's the other one I'm thinking of? Wild primrose oil. So those are all polyunsaturated oils, and you never, ever, ever want to heat up a polyunsaturated oil. Peanut oil.
Don't heat it.
Never heat up a polyunsaturated oil, because what happens is it changes the chemical bonds.
It kind of collapses, or some toxic stuff happens.
Right, it causes free radicals to form. So that's why I say never heat up a fish oil. You never want to cook with it. If you're going to eat, if you're looking at oil and it's in a clear plastic container and it's kind of a yellow color, chances are it's not very good for you and it's highly processed. You don't want to eat that. It should be in an opaque bottle so that the light isn't getting in it and oxidizing it or changing the composition of it. Or
yeah, right. I never saw it like that, but yeah, true. Another question from Laura. What do you think about fasting? Very fashionable nowadays. Yeah, that's another trend. Intermittent fasting and everything. Yeah.
So my personal opinion is fasting is good to a point. It's a lot easier for men to do it than women. With women, I would recommend it has an impact on our hormones.
Yes.
And so it's something that if you're going to do very cautiously. And I wouldn't do it for more than a period of hours, maybe half a day at the most.
Yes, that's what I did because I'm on the road. I don't do real intermittent fasting, but oftentimes I have a window of eating of 8 or 10 hours, and then I have a break. But that is not real intermittent fasting in its definition, as far as I know.
So the intermittent fasting, I'm not sure if it actually started with Dave Ramsey, but he certainly introduced the concept and made it widespread. And what he was recommending was having what he would call bulletproof coffee, which is an organic coffee with coconut oil and MCT.
Butter, something.
And grass-fed butter and MCT or Corsage coconut oil in it. So you're not technically staying on an empty stomach in the morning. You're actually filling up.
No, because that's fat. That breaks the fast. That's a concept that was getting in the wrong kind of conception, or it is a misconception that you're still fasting, to my understanding.
No, you've actually got something in your stomach. So the fat will fill you for a couple hours at least. And then you eat your meal around noon, and then you have your dinner around somewhere between 5 and 7 p.m. And then you would fast again through the rest of that day into the next morning when you have your butter coffee or bulletproof coffee. So that's where I think it sort of got all its hype from. But I would say you certainly want something. I mean, I've been out actually trying to exercise in the morning, and I could feel my blood sugar go down. And I really need something in my stomach if I'm going to exercise.
Yes, true.
So long-term fasting, I'm not a big fan of. Short-term fasting for a few hours, eating within a window, a 12-hour window in a day is fine. We're not meant to eat at night before, right before bed and while we're sleeping, because our
that's a good idea, right?
Needs to rest and rejuvenate.
Yes.
So we don't.
So it's good for your cells and for your body if you have a break from eating and digesting.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
let me see.
Does that help, Laura?
I see no other question from somebody yet, but I think it is a good point because there is a lot of hype going on with intermittent fasting and keto and all that. And with everything, I mean, I tried diets before. I did Atkins and metabolic balance and all that stuff, but I could not keep it, or it's a diet and not a lifestyle. And what I was kind of experiencing by accident, finding it, I had no cravings. I was feeling very well. I was feeling vibrant, and it was not a big deal. And this is what I want to show you guys and to teach you if you want. So just a question, do you have another point for that, or is that the 3 points? Do we have the 3 points?
Yeah, I've actually got 5 points, but I'm only going to share 3 now.
Yeah, that's the teaser, because more of Lisa and me you only get if you join Cinderella Experiment. So just to give you a heads up, what is this thing? And I mean, I told you the why of Cinderella Experiment. It will be an online course, but I will produce it with you. If you want to join, it will be a secret Facebook group. It will be accountability from this group and from myself. You get a 20-minute coaching call, a tracking form, and if you don't fill it in, or you don't do your eating well or something, I will call you out. We will do weekly Facebook Lives, get you food ideas. I show you some pictures, how I do it, or ideas, how I cook fast, how I do it. You get little slides, just a page with the concepts, and then really go from there and make it your own. Transform it into your day, into your life. And of course, question and answers. You can contact me. And the coolest thing about that stuff is not the support, and making it simple. What is my goal? I have amazing experts on board. So Lisa is one of them to tackle the nutrition side of things, because I'm not a nutritionist. I just am a result of trying things out. So I have experts like Lisa. I have a super surprise at the end, because week 1 will be nutrition and hydration, the get healthy part of things, but not removing things. It should be adding things to it that help you and get you into another state. Week 2 will be sleep and relaxation and how to deal with stress better. And week 3 will be maintenance. What do you do when you're on the road? How can you eat better and make better choices overall? And the surprise expert, that will be very, very cool. And I have some results experts that lost weight too, to get their perspective. How did she do it? And maybe more. I have still some people up my sleeve, so stay tuned. I will post the link to the Cinderella Experiment later down here. I give you a glimpse of it. Just let me show. So this is my results thing, if you can see that. So this was me in June last year. Can you see it? So it's a little different, and I just switched my way of eating in one meal, and sometimes not even one meal, but I got back on the wagon the next day. So the important thing is, as always, consistency, finding simple, sustainable ways to change a habit, a behavior, and not doing big bang and killing yourself in the process. And the thing, how can people reach you, Lisa?
I can be reached on my website, lisaaanderson.com. I run a business called Special Needs Nutrition. And although I do work with the special needs community, I work with anyone who feels that they have a special need. And it can be in any way, whether it's addiction, cravings. I've worked with addiction and cravings people with having those issues before. So, and I could also be reached through my website, empowersurge.life. Both of those will find me.
Yes, and with Lisa and me, you can really charge your superpowers. I hope you saw that tonight or today, if you're in the US. We would love to see you in Cinderella Experiment or on empowersurge.life. We will post the links below, and if you had fun, if you want to see more of us, join us. We would love to have you. So good night. Thank you so much for your time, Lisa, and all viewers. Thank you. Great to have you, and thank you for your questions. If you have further questions, you can, of course, post it down below, and we will come back to the thread if you like.
I think Bianca's got a great program here, and if you want something that's super fun and super easy to implement, then I highly recommend following her and signing up to this.
Thank you so much.
Surprises in store, which is very cool.
And it's really a lot of content. You will get a lot of content, and maybe I will throw in extra surprises. I am still in the progress, and I'm happy about your feedback. So you can really shape a course here that is later not that interactive anymore. So you can be like a little bit of founder of this thing. So thank you so much again, Lisa, and everyone watching. And stay tuned. I have another surprise expert thingy maybe on Thursday. So watch out. Good night and thank you.